Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Bubbles, the podcast about comics, anime, pop culture, and all that entails. I, of course, am Terry Williams. Joining me out from the ether, you won't hear much of him today, is Joshua Burns, always producing as he always does. And today, I have a special guest. Actually, this is actually our first time actually meeting. We chatted through Facebook and Messenger and things, but that's about it. This is the first time putting face and voice, Mr. Dees Casillas. Dees, you have a comic, which you sent me the link for it, and I read it, and I got to tell you, really, really, really digging it. Really digging it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to talk about it a little bit without giving too much away. So if I go too far or say something I really want people to go read this book. I've been telling everyone about it. I told Josh, all them about it, to go read it. Because with me, it gives me, reading it in the art style immediately gave me a Daredevil vibe. It gave me, but then it also gave me a Kick-Ass vibe. It gave me a Witchblade vibe. All these different vibes coming into one to form this great character.
Ultron of indie comics.
Exactly. So as people can tell behind you, there's rows and rows and rows of comics. So obviously you're a collector first, correct?
Yeah. Long time comic book nerd. Huge collection. We're pushing over 30K individual books here. So here at the old Bat Cave.
Yeah.
It is a collection.
So did you, growing up, I wanted to get into kind of your backstory before getting into the book and letting you talk about the character. What's some of your influences?
For writing comic books?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's, I get asked this question quite a bit doing these shows. And honestly, my biggest influences because, I've been writing professionally for 17 years, probably. This is my first comic book I ever did, but I published books. I worked written for films, TV, sketch. I do stand-up comedy for a living. And I've written a lot of stuff over the years. This is the first comic book I've ever published. I've written a lot of scripts, but this is the first one I've ever actually taken all the way. So when I'm writing, honestly, my influences in my writing, there's probably more influences non-comic book related. In my writing style. Like I probably take more from things like Kurt Vonnegut, Chuck Palahniuk, authors like that. I'm a huge film guy. I take a lot from like Stanley Kubrick. I'm a big fan of his. So that's that kind of feel and vibe I want to put on the book. I've had a lot of people tell me that they feel like the book is like a movie or cinematic. Those are some words that I keep hearing readers say, which is great because that's what I wanted. And I was very meticulous about the layouts of the pages, the setup, the transitions, the color palette we used, because I did have a lot of intent with all of it. Very, very intentional. A lot of detail I spent on all of it. As for comic book influences, I've had a lot of people say Daredevil. They feel kind of some older Daredevil, like Frank Miller Daredevil, which is interesting because I haven't read that. As being a big Daredevil fan, I haven't read all of Frank Miller's run. I've read some of it. It's just a little tougher to get your hands on. I've got some of the individual issues. I've got some collected editions, but I've never read the whole thing through. For some reason, I don't know why. I'm a Frank Miller fan and a Daredevil fan. I just haven't done that yet. But if I'm being honest, a big one of my Brian Michael Bendis's run on Daredevil, and then followed up with Ed Brubaker's run on Daredevil are two of my favorite things in comic books. So that, there's the way they colored those books, especially with Bendis and Alex Mayleave doing the art, was something that really inspired me and I loved so much. And that kind of crime noir. So, I've had some people compare the book to read it and say, "Oh, it's like like a Ed Brubaker-esque," and I'm like, "Well, thank you. That's the biggest compliment I could get because I love Ed Brubaker as a writer." So that kind of crime noir stuff, maybe some Greg Rucka. I really like some kind of social commentary cynicism of Joe Casey. I think he's one of the best writers in the industry that doesn't get his dues. And then I grew up on X-Men, Chris Claremont, so
Yes.
that kind of character driven story also is I've got some of those influences in there too, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Me being, everyone knows I'm a huge X-Men fan. That was my favorite book starting off.
Yeah.
Finally completed the 1 through 500 run, which I kind of stopped there. But the Claremont run is just iconic. And reading Kill Stan has that, his writing style, the feel, the character depth, that kind of thing. Because reading your book, and again, it's called Kill Stan. It really, the character, reading it, everything that you mentioned up to this point comes off in the book. It reading it, I was thinking the whole time this could be a cinematographic something, either a movie or a series or whatever. It had that vibe to it and that feel. It's really, really well done. I like from the point of view. I'm still kind of waiting on. Now I'm waiting on issue 2. It's one of those things. Like, okay, I want to know what's going on.
It's coming. It's coming. We're almost halfway
Yeah.
done with so.
So why don't you tell us about Kill Stan? What it's about without me. But I could talk about it easily, but I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to give away too much. So I'll let you describe the book, talk about it, tell people, and also, somewhere throughout this, let folks know where they can get it.
Yeah, so Kill Stan, the kind of long elevator pitch is suicide by vigilantism. It's about a guy who wants to end his own life, so he decides to do it through vigilantism. Um, and that's kind of what it is on its surface. It's kind of a neo-noir action thriller, crime thriller. But that's kind of we kind of hide it under the guise of that. What it really is a character piece about loss and trauma and the crazy things we do when we feel like we have nothing left to live for.
Mhm.
And that's kind of that what we just talked about, that depth of character. That's the true story we're telling here. I mean, there's some other elements, there's how he gets kind of caught up in this the meat of what is the propels the story, kind of the arc, but what we're really following is him and his personal arc. Like we see it in the first issue, and then what happens in the next few issues really is what it starts to. I think people who may not have seen that in the first issue and are going to suddenly realize, halfway through the reading, they're reading a character piece about this guy and his mental, not his mental illness, um, not even mental illness. It's just like a ubiquitous low grade trauma and depression that I think everyone deals with in some aspect, and that's really what I was trying to get across in this book, because I started writing this book at the beginning of COVID. And what had happened is the January of 2020, my best friend, another comedian who I toured with for years, took his own life. And then in COVID, I just, however you feel about it, politically, culturally, etc., I think we can all agree that it had a large toll on people, and it had a large toll on their psyche, a large lasting impact on the way they felt about things. A lot of people lost a lot, whether personally, people, things, financially, left a lot of people, never the same. And it really exposed a lot of like wounds that I think people live with that they don't realize they live with every day. Um, and one of the main themes I want to explore in this, we are exploring, is that you don't have to be leaving a movie, like you don't have to be leaving a movie with your parents after you just saw Zorro and you're walking down Crime Alley and somebody shoots your parents, and that's why you decide to strike vengeance in the night. It could just be this low grade um, malaise and pressure of everyday life, of just, having to make it to work on time, traffic, dealing with paying rent, and just like all these things are hard. And I don't think people ever step back and realize how much they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And this is a way of trying to express that those things happen. It's okay. And, maybe deal with it before it gets to you get to rock bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to say sorry, Ray, about your friend. I also early 2000s had a friend that committed suicide. It is one of those things that we don't talk about a lot, and it's one of those things that he never, from the outside looking in, never knew anything was going on, but there was obviously a lot going on. Um,
Yeah.
and the whole thing about COVID, and I just had this discussion yesterday, in fact, with someone. It's the thing where sometimes you don't know someone's struggle as far as how difficult it is to just live today, as far as the struggle to pay bills, to pay rent, to be loved, to be respected, all of these things. And I think COVID, as you said, really brought that home with a lot of people, because for X amount of time, so many people were at home with themselves. And it's like you have to
Yeah.
get to know yourself again and reevaluate everything. And some people it helped, and some people I think it really brought their loneliness and whatever else they're dealing with into the forefront for them, and they couldn't. It was just too much. So
Yeah.
reading Kill Stan, I can absolutely, just from the beginning of the book, probably page 5 or 6, it was pretty clear to me anyway, reading it, that it wasn't just. I, I was thinking he has this death wish. He wants to
Hmm.
die because everything is so heavy, but that deep down inside of us, that fight or flight instinct kicked in, and every time he's like, "Oh, this is it," his adrenaline body, whatever, is like, "Oh no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stay alive. I'm going to stay alive." And that's
Yeah.
kind of how, as a society, we are, as individuals. I'm going to stay alive. I'm going to stay alive. And dude, I can't talk about this book enough. I absolutely love it. The art style. Um, so that's one thing I wanted to ask. The art goes.
Hmm.
I know you had a lot to do with layouts, that kind of thing, and I'm guessing you chose the artist for this project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
because the art goes with the storytelling. It's a perfect mix, perfect match. So
Yeah.
where do you
Good.
see? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just glad to hear that. Yeah, it connects for other people too.
Yeah. So where do you? So I know this is your first comic. Why did you decide to do a comic?
I mean, I've always wanted to do a comic book. Like I said, I've ever since I could put pen to paper, I wanted to be a writer, and luckily I've been able to do that as a profession in one way or the other. Whether like I said, I do stand up comedy for a living. I've been doing that for about 17 years, but in that time, I've written a lot for a lot of other mediums. Like I said, published books, and written for a lot of stuff. So but really, if you would have asked me my entire life, I was being honest, what did I want to do? I want to write comic books. I always did. It just seemed so far away and so impossible. I mean, especially when I was a kid, uh, growing up in the 80s, early 90s, is that the entire comic book industry was in New York.
Hmm.
It was all in New York. Whereas I lived in LA. I was as far away from New York as you could be and still be in America. And just getting there, and it just seemed impossible. And as I grew up, you just try to survive, and then other things happen. Then comedy started taking off, and I just kind of kept pursuing that. And I like it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love doing it, but there was always that want
Hmm.
of doing a book. And it's every few years the idea would surface again, and I would see if I could find an artist and see if we could work something out. But it's always like, hey, if we make some money, we'll make some money, but otherwise we're both doing this pro bono. And that really never works out because, it's my project, and trying to get an artist who's not making money until later to commit time, and they're not going to be committed to the project.
Right.
So finally, a couple years ago, I guess this would have been 2 years ago, I was moving from Washington to Texas, and I had some free time in my calendar because I knew I was going to move here, and bought a house and doing some remodeling, and I was kind of reestablishing some my how I was doing comedy and where from. So I'd like, well, I have this time to kind of in my schedule. I'm like, I'm just going to commit to writing this comic book, and then I'm going to commit to putting it out and like finding an artist. And really, I'm just going to find someone. I'll solicit for an artist. I will pay for an artist, and I'll just front the bill on this. I'll just foot the bill on this thing, and I will make it happen. I guess part of the reason I was really kind of inspired to do it is because I was, I'm sure you're familiar with Fabian Nicieza, the
Absolutely.
writer. Yeah. So I'm familiar with him. We know each other. He's been on my podcast, and we were talking, and he was telling me his brother, Mario, who runs a small press publishing company, Apex Comics, had a booth at the LA Comic Con like 2 years ago. And I mean, they do every year, but that year
Mhm.
he's looking for people to volunteer for the show to help him with his booth. And I'm like, and I just how happened that weekend I was going to be in LA doing shows all weekend, comedy in LA. So I go, I can help him. I'm like, I'll be down there. I'm like, I'll do the convention during the day, then go do my shows at night. No, that sounds great. Like
Yeah,
that's like I've been at a comic convention all day. Sounds like my ideal day anyway.
exactly.
So, yeah, so I'm like, perfect. So, and I go, and I've been writing this project. So I'm like, maybe I'll glean some information from these people, right?
Mhm.
And I never mentioned that I was writing this book during that time, during the convention, because I didn't want them to feel like I wanted something from them or like I had an ulterior motive. I just wanted to, be around the industry, and then, whatever happened, happened. So, convention happens, whatever. A couple weeks later, I'm back home, and Mario, one of the guys that owns Apex Comics and Fabian's brother, calls me, and he goes, hey, I just wanted to thank you for doing the convention. I didn't get to really talk to you that much. Just wanted to get to know you. And he goes, you do stand-up comedy for a living? I go, yeah, that's right. And he goes, you write all your own material? I go, yeah, absolutely. And he goes, you ever written anything else? And I said, yeah, I've written for, I published a book. I've written for a bunch of websites, some TV, some film stuff. And he goes, oh, great. He goes, you ever think about writing a comic book? And I go, well, funny you ask. I go, I am currently writing. I've got this project I'm working on that I want to do. And he goes, we'll send it over, and I'll give you some notes on it. Right. And I'm like, oh, great. So I sent it to him, and, week goes by, and he goes, hey, I'm going to send this to another editor and have them take a look at it too. So great. And then some time goes by, and he goes, hey, I'm going to actually send this to our editor in chief also and publisher and have them take a look at it. And I'm like, great, more notes from professionals. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then about a week later, I get a conference call from all of them. And they're like, hey, we want to do this book. And I was like, oh, okay. And at that time, I had no art for it. I just had the script.
Right.
There was no art done for it. I hadn't hired my artist yet. And so eventually I kind of ended up walking away from that. I decided I wanted to do it independently just because there were some things they wanted to do that I didn't want to do with it. But I kind of was like, I think I can do this, like I can make this happen. I can foot the bill. I can do that. I'm versed in marketing. I can do this. So I just went and found, I solicited on Facebook on these Facebook comic book groups for independent creators. Hey, I'm looking for an artist. This is the style I'm looking for. This is the vibe of the book. Here's some artists I like, some styles I like. I hit up, did the same thing with colorists. And I'm like, send me your portfolio, send me your page rate, and let's go. And then people, sent me what they had. I started weeding it down, selecting people I liked, did some Zoom calls like this with different creators to make sure we meshed creatively and how, understood how I wanted it to go, and got my team together, and now we're riding. We're going hard.
Nice. So I have the digital copy. Is it in print?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It is
Because
in print.
where can I get a copy? Because I'm old, and I'm old school, in that reading online is something I never do. Reading on a screen is just hard for me. I like the smell. I like the feel. I like everything about the book. So I want the hard copy. So where can we get those?
You can go, so you can still order them through the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter for the #1 is still up. You can order them that way.
Okay.
They're a little more expensive that way. You can also order them on my website, inferno.earth. There's no .com. It's just inferno.earth is the domain.
Okay.
They are also, or the cheapest way, if you hit me up directly through Instagram, which is inferno.earth on Instagram also, or Facebook, or you can deece.comedy is my personal Instagram. Hit me up, tell me you want a copy, and I can do payment through Venmo or Cash App, and I'll send you a copy. That's the cheapest way, because then you don't pay the fees on the website or the Kickstarter. And then I know directly I can ship it directly instead of having to wait to get these reports and shit like that.
Yeah, I got you. So are you in LA, or are you in Texas?
I live in San Antonio now. I'm from, I grew up in Long Beach, California. Yeah, I live in San Antonio now, though.
Okay, so you're just up the street. So, the reason I asked about LA, because obviously all the fires that are happening, that kind of thing. And I saw all your books behind you. I'm wondering, dude, are you worried? Because and this is just so. This is the comic nerd in me coming out, is that when I saw the devastation, it was like, man, that sucks. All those people without, losing everything, all their possessions. And then I thought, how many comic collections were lost?
Oh man, yeah.
I don't know why in my head that's where I went right after the people. It wasn't pets, it was comics, then pets. So, but
yeah. I mean, I will say this. There's one short box I have in here that my girlfriend has been instructed, if anything's happening to this house, grab that box.
Yeah.
That's absolutely. She knows what it is. That's the one. And I'm not going to say which one it is. So you guys breaking in, if you guys making his house, you got a lot to guess which one it is. But I know which one it is, and she knows which one.
The important one. So, do you do any of the cons that you go set up and market your book at cons at all?
Oh yeah. So for marketing this book, I mean, so the first print run of this book sold out. We sold out in like about a little over a month. We went back to print about 6 weeks later, had a second print run, and we have sold almost all of those already. So we're very fortunate that this book is really, I mean, I've got a shop here in San Antonio that can't keep them in stock. That I went in there the other day. I went in there last week and took them some variants. And this is the fourth time I've restocked them. And I went back in there less than a week later, and they were gone. And the owner's like, yeah, people are buying 2 at a time. Like, I can't keep this book in stock. So we're doing that. We're selling online. I'm in a number of stores across Texas. And then we're doing a ton of conventions. Yeah, I've done, there's a lot of shows around Texas. I've done, doing some stuff in Oklahoma, going up to Washington soon to do some conventions, Baltimore in October. I mean, I'm fully in doing all the shows and marketing the hell out of this thing, because it is a project I 100% believe in. And, I think, once just get in people's hands, people are going to read it and they're going to want the next one.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing too. Is outside of the podcast, we buy and sell comics. So I'm at shows all the time, especially throughout Texas, because I'm up here right on the Texas-Oklahoma border. I'm in Sherman, so I'm doing shows all the time, all over. Surprised I haven't bumped into you, and I might have and just didn't put two and two together. Who knows? But on that, are you
Are you
going to
going
be
to be
doing?
Texhoma?
I am. I was just about to ask that.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, in fact,
So you got to
Texoma
get
is.
focused.
Yeah, Texoma is near and dear to my heart because I grew up and graduated high school in Durant, Oklahoma, where the con is held.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's like, man, like last year was the initial year of it, and I did it. And it was after the show Saturday. We had kind of a little mini class reunion and lots of drinks. And anyway,
Yeah.
that's a different story. But yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. So looking forward to meeting you there, hanging out, maybe have a drink or whatever. So is this the only book you're going to be doing? Are you looking at doing some others? What's down the road for you?
Yeah, so this is a 10-issue series, and we're going to finish this up. And timeline for this is kind of nebulous right now. It really depends on how much more momentum we can build, which I anticipate more, obviously, but how quickly it builds will determine the outcome. Right now, just by nature of workflow, for my artist and my colorist, it's about 3 months to get a book out from start to
Okay.
finish. Luckily, I'm kind of streamlining the process, where last time we ran the Kickstarter, and then we're getting got books after the Kickstarter was done. This time I'm pretty much just going to have the books ready before the Kickstarter is over. I'll order for the Kickstarter and beyond, so we can immediately roll into getting number 3 moving. But after, so if we pick up enough, there's a chance I might be able to financially motivate my artist to work a little faster and
Sure.
harder. So if he doesn't have to do any other work to stay alive, because I know I'm
Right.
not putting food on the table, I'm not paying his mortgage
Right.
exclusively. So if I can financially motivate him to only focus on this, or mostly, I'm more than happy to do that if it means getting us on a faster timeline, which I hope before the series is over we see that happen, where we're able to make that happen. As far as after this, yeah, I have several, and when I say several, I mean probably countless follow-up projects
Nice.
I plan to work on. So there is another project, and then another project, and another project. The hope is that the momentum is rolling, and financially it's rolling well enough that I can get multiple books going at once, and as opposed to just working on one book and having it come out every couple months. The goal would be to get a couple books going and all be monthly.
Yeah, that would be great. For the Kickstarter, if people wanted to contribute, how do they find it?
Yeah, you can, if you go to inferno.earth on Instagram, the Kickstarter is on the link in the bio, or search Kill Stan on Kickstarter. I think I've got links all over my Facebook too, but the pre-launch page is up right now.
Okay.
So that we're going to launch on February 1st, and the pre-launch page is up now though. But if you find it, go follow. And that does help us get higher in the algorithm when we launch. Having
Mhm.
more followers, Kickstarter assumes you're more popular, and they push you up in the algorithm, which helps a ton. So yeah, if you find us, or go to inferno.earth on Instagram, and I've been posting it like crazy on everything I post, and it's in our link on the bio too. It's also on the website, inferno.earth. We've got the link to the new Kickstarter.
Fantastic. Well, I'll definitely start sharing it through all my socials, get it out there for you because, again, it's not just hyperbole. I'm not saying it because I'm just meeting you. I actually really read the book before talking to you, meeting you, and absolutely love it. Honestly,
Thank you.
honest opinion, it's a great, great read. Um,
Thank
the other thing I wanted to ask you is so, and I don't know how much you can say about it, but reading the book, the
you.
name caught me, but I didn't think about anything really until the end. And I was
Mhm.
reading, your, I don't know if it's a dedication or whatever, you're talking about the book and all that kind of thing. And you mentioned in there that the title kind of didn't cause issues, but was questioned, I guess.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
is that because it's the name Stan and we just everyone in comics thinks of the man when they think of that, and they were kind of thinking you were going after that angle or something?
Yeah, yep. So the well, it's so two things on that. Yes, that is one of the things I was told when dealing with Apex Comics is they were adamant on changing the name. And like call it Kill Sam, call it whatever. It just can't be Stan. Um, and their thought process was that yeah, you could get sued because Stanley existed as a person and kind of has a publishing company now. Post posthumously, but he I like they can't you can't trademark the name Stan in a title of something, you know.
Right.
And but they were concerned with that was a big sticking point. It wasn't the only thing we disagreed on, but that was a big one. And if I'm being honest, part of the reason I named it Kill Stan was knowing the struggles of a independent creator and your first comic book being a completely unknown. um, I know the uphill battle of getting people to read and buy and read your book. So my thought process was a couple things. One, we all know Stan Lee. Any comic book reader probably appreciates what he contributed to our medium that we love.
Hmm.
So it was kind of an homage to Stan the man, but also the former consultant and marketing specialist in me said, "Hey, as a comic book fan, if I was walking by a rack and I saw a book called Kill Stan, the first thing I would associate was with Stan Lee, and it would make me stop and think about it, and probably at least thumb through that book." Um, it was kind of a marketing ploy also to to name it
I get
to
it.
use
I
name.
but I get it, and I guess this is going to show a little bit more about me. When I saw the title, I honestly, and it's weird, I guess I should have thought of Stanley. I didn't. I thought of Eminem. And
Interesting.
yeah,
But also fine because it does evoke something from someone to make them go,
yeah,
hey, I know this is a thing like that is in the zeitgeist that I recognize. Because it's very, I mean, you sell comic books, you've been to comic
yeah,
book stores. It's very easy to walk by a rack of comic books and ignore 80% of them, right?
yes,
I mean, how many of
absolutely.
them are actually eye-catching that you're not looking for, you know?
Yep.
Like if you're looking for X-Men, you're just looking for the shape of the logo because it's
Hmm.
ingrained in your brain.
Right.
Um, but how many things are actually eye-catching? So I did a couple things with that. Was the covers the way I wanted the covers to be? They're all this black and kind of crimson, um, stark minimalist covers. That's the main covers are all going to have that look. Different things on them, but that color scheme. And then also with Stan in the title, I felt like it would grab people in that red color also, and maybe
Yeah.
give them at least have them consider a second look at it as opposed to passing it by as quickly when it's a book they don't know.
Yeah. Well, man, you've killed it. I absolutely love it. I've recommended it to everyone I know. Going to keep recommending it. I'm gonna blast it out, all the info out on all my socials, letting people know about it. Inferno.earth, where to find it, how to go get it, fund if they want to fund, at least follow, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, that stuff to all of your info. And I love San Antonio. I'm down there a lot. So next time I'm down, maybe we can get together, go to, I love the Esquire on the on the Riverwalk. Love their drink. So maybe we can go grab a drink or whatever. But I don't know if you drink or not.
Yeah,
but,
let me know. I mean,
yeah.
I'll be up in, if if you're not down here for that, I'll be up in Durant next month too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, man.
let me know. Get you a physical copy of Kill Stand then. And if for everyone listening, if you want a copy of the book, yeah, like we said, the easiest way to do, you can order through the website and stuff. Easiest way, fastest way, cheapest way is just hit me up on Instagram and tell me you want a copy. I'll get your address, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. It's $12 for a physical copy. That's shipped. So $12 includes shipping, and I'll get one out to you the next day. And I'll sign it for you too, or whatever you want.
Dude, sounds great. And as I have a couple of folks that are on with me, another creator, Roberto Rivera Padro, he's down in Austin. Great friend of mine. I met him at the con circuit. Every time he does another issue or whatever, he's got a standing invitation. Same with you. When the next issue is about to come out or there's a Kickstarter, feel free to reach out. Love to have you on, talk about it. It's great meeting you, great getting to know you, great reading Kill Stand.
Yeah.
Again, folks, go out, find that copy, Kill Stand, reach out to Deese, get it, read it. I promise you'll like it. Especially if like I said, it's got all these vibes tied into one between, like with me, I've got Daredevil, I got Witchblade, I got Kick-Ass out of it, I got X-Men out of it. All these things just kind of merged into to me, what really is a perfect comic. I love it, man.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. I mean, honestly, I put my soul into this book as far as what I felt needed to be said. Not just a kind of light action, comic book. There's meat in there for you.
It absolutely is. Mandy's, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me. Folks, we are out of time, but I appreciate, again, Deese for joining me. Again, go pick up Kill Stand. Please hit like, subscribe, like this page, follow us, ask questions, reach out, whatever, share. We're trying to grow. Once again, thanks everyone. And until next time, peace.